The following Toku Podcastu contains spoilers from both past and present tokusatsu, anime, manga, movies and other related media. If you do not wish to be spoiled, we suggest turning off the podcast now. Otherwise, please enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Toku Podcast, the best show about tokusatsu you've probably never heard of. And, well, we already did this joke, but don't worry, we're recording it again, so don't worry. Kanpai!
Kanpai! I tried to make a sound, but it didn't work.
But yeah, so today we're doing Kanpai Senshi After V, Kanpai Pi, I can't speak Pi. Kanpai Senshi After V. And the premise is pretty simple, so before anything, that's Jay.
Hello.
That's Van.
Cheers!
You know, if they ever did adapt it for America, they would use that song, wouldn't they? But that's another thing. They would.
Maybe.
I have that feeling.
I mean, you know, it's an easy enough choice.
I mean, you think a bar, you know, in like American culture, you think a bar, you think a song that goes with it, you think Cheers. I mean, nobody. I mean, then again, maybe we're just boomers. I don't know. So, getting into the actual show itself, what is the premise? What does it do? What are we doing with it? Why are we talking about it? Because it's funny. Basically, the plot of the show is you have this Sentai team who are named Treasure 5, but they're given the nickname Kanpai After 5 because that's what they do. They drink after every fight. After 5, funny enough. And that's about it. It's just about shenanigans,
it's them
really.
Dicking around in a bar and making jokes and cracking fun at Sentai tropes. That's basically a majority of the show.
Yeah,
there's sort of a plot, but not really. More in just like the last handful of episodes. But even then, it's not like actually important.
Which we'll get into because just to spoil a little bit of it, I kind of really liked it. I actually really liked it.
It's a really good show. It's a really nice balance of humor and some actually genuinely not necessarily say serious but dramatic moments too. Again, more so near the end, but it's nice. And it's not all just like the usual kind of haha, let's just do a thing they would do in the normal show, but we'll do it ironic or we'll be self-aware about it like other parodies might.
That is true. A lot of parodies will just be like, "Ha! Look at the silly posing! Ha!
Oh wow! Look at all the napalm! Haha!" And it's like, and I know that sounds like we're throwing shade at like Akibaranger, but Akibaranger at least did it good. A lot of other ones are just like, haha, look, we're blowing up, and haha, funny pose, haha.
Yeah, and obviously...
Basically, most of the most of the tokusatsu abridgers you see on YouTube. Ooh.
Honestly, Akibaranger is obviously the easiest choice because it's the same kind of show. It's, we're a Sentai team, but we're not kind of thing. Where Akibaranger, we're a Sentai team, but we're not, and we're just a bunch of weirdo fans. Here it's, we're a Sentai team, but... You know, we don't actually do any Sentai stuff. It's just drinking and being a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, I guess you could say Kanpai Senshi After 5 is a Akibaranger without a budget, which is saying something.
Pretty much. Somehow it makes Akibaranger look well funded in comparison.
Right. Which I think it's to its credit though. I think it's actually a good thing that this show is so low budget, because if you actually did, and this is a spoiler for the show, I mean, who fucking cares? The robot, listen to the robot lady, guys, alright? It's a spoiler for the show, but there's no real actual fight. Like, there's one scuffle in, like, I think episode 7, I think? And, like, that's it.
We never actually see any fights happening. Like, the most we get is, like... the different, I don't want to say rangers, the different heroes like play fighting with each other because they're a bunch of drunk assholes. The only time we get a genuine quote unquote fight is in the very last episode, but even then it's not a real fight.
Yeah.
I would also include the intro, because
the intro too.
In
Yes,
the intro they do the Sentai stuff. They actually do the pretty much you see them in some of in the ranger costumes and stuff doing the.
Which I will say is kind of a joke within of itself, because you could basically say, oh, the opening is just that's the fight you missed, and here's basically what you don't want to see. This is like after the ending credits.
Well, that's honestly, yeah, that's really how you explain it, is that the opening is in itself a joke where it's setting you up for, oh, it's just here's another, it's somebody watched an old episode of a show, a Sentai show, and so we're just gonna do that. But no, it has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the show.
We can so speaking of that, let's get into the characters, because they're like the easiest things to get through first. We got Red,
who is useless from Decade, who is
fuck off.
The best character in the show outside of
I love him.
The quote unquote villain. His whole shtick is that he's the rookie, he's the new guy, and he's the Red, so he's the walking archetype of the Red. But his whole bit is that, like, he joins the team and he realizes that, oh, the heroes I idolized are all a bunch of assholes, and he kind of,
they don't even want to do this.
He kind of gets disillusioned with the whole hero thing, and he's very much a walking he's very much got chronic hero syndrome, where he'll do whatever the fuck you ask him to because he's a good guy, because that's what heroes do, and he slowly breaks as an individual as the series goes on.
We have Blue,
the dumbest man on the planet. He was played.
Oh my god! Why did I forget his name? Why do I forget
Drake
who he is?
from Kabuto.
There you go. I was like, why did I forget? Yeah, it's Drake, or Rider 2, if for
he was
fans. In which case,
he was,
I'm sorry.
Reboot V3. I don't know why you would remember the next.
Oh, okay, I remember that now.
That movie.
Oh yeah,
fucking
from
sucked.
the Grudge Ghost movie. Yeah, from the Grudge Ghost movie.
For all three of you, the Next fans out there, in which case, get the fuck off of my podcast.
In which case, hello, Inoue. I wonder what it would do tonight.
Inoue, please don't stab me.
Please email us. We love you. No,
we really do. But yeah, so he's
Blue
he's the.
I think that's the easiest way to put it, is that every character is like, they're kind of the antithesis to the usual, like, archetype you would expect, where Red is the hero. He's very much, like, forced into it half the time, and he's still kind of egotistical about it. That he's really kind of annoyed and overall disillusioned with the whole hero thing. Blue, you expect him to be the cool, aloof guy of the team, and here Blue is a complete fucking moron, who honestly causes most of the problems in the show, both intentionally and unintentionally.
I loved him in the show. He was like great.
Blue is top three.
So
it's hard to say that there's a character in the show who's bad, because there's only like 7 or 8 characters.
8.
There's no real like extra characters. There's the main cast, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
So.
What about their extra ranger, technically?
Oh well, Lame Golden.
Lame Gold, or Lame Gold. We'll get to him once we get through the other 3. Blue.
We got Green.
Blue is
who is.
Green
if you want to keep going with Blue, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say a little bit more about Blue. He's just.
Go for it.
He's a fucking moron, as we mentioned. He causes all of the problems, and ironically speaking, he becomes closer to the villains than the heroes at one point, which is it's fun. It's a nice little story arc they do there. But yeah, his whole shtick is that he's a complete fucking moron who causes everybody's issues to become worse. So
pretty much.
Moving on to Green. What the fuck is there to say about Green?
He doesn't do much, but he doesn't do much, but what he does is usually fucking hilarious.
He's very much, he's kind of boring, honestly.
He's a nerd.
He's just kind of like a generic nerd. I guess the best way to put it is, like, with Green, you usually expect Green to be like the weird one, the comedy guy, and here in this, Green is he's just kind of boring. I really don't know how else
Until
to
he
put
gets
it.
drunk.
He doesn't really do anything. There's like 1 or 2 episodes where he has some good comedic moments, but otherwise he's mostly just in the background.
That's why I said until he gets
Yeah,
drunk.
until that one
and
time
in
he
which
got
case
drunk.
That's, and tried to fucking
fun.
murder a guy.
Yeah, Green plays mostly a second fiddle to the rest of the guys. Like, he's a supporting character to the rest.
Which is weird to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, like pretty much they use him to bounce off stuff with. Like, I just think like some moments work better because Green's kind of there to pretty much egg on and or increase a situation.
Yeah, I would.
If you want to go for a certain trope, I mean, you could almost say he's the straight man. In a way.
He kind of is the straight man overall by virtue of not really being involved with most of the jokes.
Yeah. Then you get Yellow, who is an old fuck. He's a boomer.
The joke of the Yellow being usually he's the tough guy. He's the old, usually the older member of the team. He's kind of sometimes like a Key Ranger, who is obviously a majority a parody of. He was kind of a overweight guy, but he was the heavy lifter of the team. He was the muscle. Where here in Yellow, he's an old fat dude who can't lift his arms up above his neck and is constantly complaining and is just kind of stupid also, but in a different kind of stupid. Where
he's doing it for a paycheck.
He's clearly just here for the money. I like Yellow. Yellow ends up having some genuine heartfelt moments throughout the show, most of which just relate to the fact that he's a weird old dude who doesn't fit in.
Yeah, with the younger
when he gets replaced for all of 2 episodes, which is funny in and of itself, and is funny because of what it's parodying. But his shtick is kind of one note where he's the old dude, so he makes a lot of like old-timey jokes. He tends to be the one who pokes on like the tropes the most. Like, he'll be the one who'll be like, why are the villains always attacking so-and-so, or why aren't we doing so-and-so, or like, isn't it easier just to bring the robot out at the beginning and so-and-so. So that's kind of his thing, is to like point out the tropes and like make the jokes about them. But not to say that's his only thing, but that's kind of his primary thing.
See, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've noticed this from the past few shows that are comedically inclined that we've done. It's that a lot of them tend to lean on the whole thing of these characters are one note, but it's what they do with that one note that really, really puts them above a lot of things. Like here with Yellow, like you said, his character is he's an old guy. He has no purpose being in the team because he's so fucking old. But for some reason, that just they're able to do a lot with that, to the point where they're even able to get a legitimately like pulling at your heartstrings moment towards the end, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Where'd this come from?
Yeah, and it's a fun little arc, especially with the way it gets resolved at the end too. Which it's funny for multiple reasons, and I'll explain why that's funny when we get to that, talking about that arc. But
we got Pink, who's a slut.
Pink is well, as I mentioned, everybody's kind of like this usual subversion, where Pink is usually like, she's the straight-laced girly girl type who's there for like the kiddies and the adults, where here she's a rude bitch who's constantly heavily drinking and smoking and just kind of being a scumbag.
She stole the fucking robot.
She stole the robot when she got mad.
Yeah.
She never pays for any of her drinks. She smokes in the robot, which, you know, that's the worst possible thing, is that she smokes too. But that's her.
Oh yeah, I love the episode where they actually do try to call her on that bullshit that she always fucking ditches out when they ever have to pay. So they actually...
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a fun one, and then they end up chickening out anyways because Red's chronic hero syndrome kicks in, as I had mentioned.
But if anything, of all the people in this show, she is probably the worst person. Like, not the worst character, just the worst person in the show.
Yeah, she is definitely the worst human being as part of as part of Treasure 5. She's definitely the worst human being. But in the show, she's fun. She tends to be not the most one note, but close to green in the fact of just how one note she is.
Yeah, I could see that. Now let's move on to the good characters in the show, the villains.
Oh yeah, I fucking love.
So there's our commander of the evil organization, named the Evil Organization, whose name is Commander, who's coincident.
Oh yeah, we should have mentioned that. None of these characters have full names.
No, yeah,
They're alluded to, but they're not. They don't actually have full names.
So yeah, when we refer to characters by their color, it's not because we forgot. It's because they literally don't have any other kind of name.
Yeah.
Which is easy for us because now we don't have to remember it.
Woo!
So
I don't have to say hard to say Japanese names.
So there's the commander of the evil organization named Commander, who's coincidentally played by the commander from Bokenger. He's honestly the best part of the show because he's very much like the stock Showa era like Sentai villain where he's evil for evil's sake, but a lot of it is like cartoonish incompetent villainy. Where end up half the time he ends up helping the heroes because of how incompetent he is, which ends up becoming ironically plot relevant with just how bad he is at stopping the heroes.
Yeah.
In a weird twist, they turn the usual trope of haha the villain is so bad he ends up helping the heroes into an actual like plot point. But
he if I were to say, he is the heart of the show.
He really is. He ends up having like the most like dramatic and emotional moments in the show. He ends up having like an actual character arc, whereas everybody else basically stays more or less the same as they began. He honestly ends up having some of the funniest jokes half the time. Mostly just due to the fact that like he's pretending to be the chef, well, quote unquote, pretending to be the chef at the restaurant they hang out at. And
Yeah.
There's a lot of the jokes where he's like he's taken like the bit too seriously to the point where he's just literally working there. Which of course it turns out he actually is literally working there.
You know.
He does.
The villains, even villains need to pay their bills, which is coincidentally the plot of the show.
Yeah. Like I said, like he himself as the main bad guy. Well, again, it's hard to really give somebody the moniker of main bad guy because as the show goes on, and I like this part of the show. I mean, even at the beginning, really, as the show goes on, there's not really a villain. Honestly, they're all just.
He's not.
The entire show is kind of all just about. Yeah, I was gonna say like the show is kind of all just about. They're all just fuck ups in a way.
Yeah, like it's hard to be the villain of a show where there's no like evil plans. He's just occasionally tries to fuck with Treasure 5, but he never really like does anything, and half the time he's ended up helping them with their own problems because they're bigger fuck ups than he is.
Yeah, which is really weird to think about because like honestly, that's the whole thing. I mean, he doesn't do anything bad. Honestly, like he'll say. And there's multiple points where like he'll have a chance like his henchman like that we're gonna talk about right now. He brings him a poison bottle, be like, oh, are we gonna poison them? Yeah, it's like no, I'm just gonna make them food.
Literally in the first episode, his generic mook, who is just he's just called like the combatant. I think they like Treasure 5 one time refers to him as like Key because you know he's a shocker mook, so he does the E thing. And
yeah.
I think that's his fake name he gave them. So like that's the closest he gets to a name. Like honestly, he's the one that like he applies to the usual like stock stereotype the most, where he is the generic mook. He's the guy who's there to follow the villain's orders no matter what. no matter how ridiculous or more contradictory it ends up being. To the point where he, like, half the time he's not really in on what the commander is trying to do. Half the time when he's trying to do something, like, unironically good, he thinks it's part of, like, a scheme, and he just goes along with it because he's stupid.
Well, because he just wants to be helpful.
He's doing his job as a minion of the evil organization to help his commander, no matter how incompetently not evil his plans are.
Which, again, we'll get more into as we talk about the arcs, which is just incredible.
It starts pretty much immediately on where he's like, oh, hey, Treasure 5 is here, and they got a new red. You want me to kill them? And they're like, no, we're not going to kill them here. It's too easy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, whatever you say, Commander.
Then we got the manager. Now we're just gonna talk about the last two. The manager of the bar that they're in. I mean, he doesn't really do much.
Do anything? He's just like, haha. He's the manager there. While our villains are trying to be villains on the job, and that's about it up until the last 2 episodes when
which does come into a twist.
He finds out that the commander is in fact the commander of the evil organization, which they end up playing with well, because primarily because of how dramatic and heartwarming the storyline for them ends up becoming. He ends up joining them, sort of. He tries to help them out. He doesn't want to reveal that he knows that he's the fucking big bad of the show, quote unquote. So he'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna help you out, and then doesn't actually explain it. So it's fun, but he doesn't really show up at all. So he just kind of exists.
And then we got Lame Gold, aka every boss Chief. Ever.
He is the chief. He's their boss and the sort of sixth ranger, where he's the. I guess the easiest way to, instead of the usual trope where the chief, who is the sixth ranger or the extra ranger, is, oh well, he's the most badass and he's super serious and super tough and everybody loves and respects him and he's a super serious threat. Here he's even more pathetic than Yellow, and he's even older than him, and he's a big fat guy who can't fight, and he's just obnoxious and everybody hates him.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, dude. See, I'm not gonna lie. I had such PTSD watching that episode because I've been there. I've been there.
He is your boss. You have had this boss at least once in your life statistically.
If you have worked a job ever, multiple jobs, you will know this person. The guy who's doesn't know when to just leave you alone, and he's always just wanting to. Oh my god! He
clearly means well, but he's just obnoxious and does not read the room and does not know when to stop. But he's your boss, and you got to put up with it because you want to be nice, and you don't want to look like an asshole in front of your boss, because that's never a good thing.
Well, that was a great story that you've told me for 8 times this week, sir.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have things I had to do 3 hours ago, sir. I appreciate it. I love the story.
I know, my kid's just at the bus stop in this frigid fucking rain. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
He can walk home.
And of course, obviously, you expect the sixth ranger guy to be the most toughest, powerful ranger in the team, and he's outright stated to be the weakest. To quote the commander, he's about as tough as a used condom, which is probably the best quote from the show, personally.
I love that quote.
But he's only in 2 episodes, so he doesn't really factor into much at all.
And then you got Yellow 2, which again she doesn't factor into too much, but she's fun for while she's there. I mean, it's a cute little thing.
I think the replacement Yellow arc is definitely the weakest episodes of the show, but she's fine. She's also one who just kind of fulfills her stock role where, oh, I'm the replacement hero, and that's it. That's my entire shtick. That's my entire joke.
I mean, I like the whole thing of they're just making the 3 male heroes just go fucking crazy, and Pink is unbelievably jealous.
It's a fun bit, but I think my issue with it is that it went on for too long. It's 2 or 3 episodes that is just, oh, haha, there's a new hero and she's a girl that isn't Pink, and now the guys are obsessed with her, and Pink is jealous, and repeat that for 30 fucking minutes, 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah, I can see what you're getting at. I will say though, the way they wrote her off the show was pretty fucking funny.
The way she gets written off, and this is what I had brought up earlier with Yellow, is she gets introduced because Yellow is fired because he's too old and fat and he can't fight anymore. So they replace him, and in a genuinely like emotional and heartfelt scene where he's like, everybody's kind of like, they reveal they don't really like him, kind of accidentally, and then he just kind of gets depressed, and he's solemnly walking away, and the commander like invites him to drink, and he has this heartfelt conversation about like
being old,
getting old and like moving on in the world and how life changes, and
it's surprisingly fucking heartbreaking when you're watching it. I'm just like, dude.
It's genuinely heartfelt and emotional, and it's weird coming from a show that like earlier was making jokes about how the monsters have zippers and like the villains are blowing up the city because they have no money and stuff like that. It's a bit of whiplash, honestly, and it's kind of weird,
but it kind of works.
Following that point, the show kind of starts taking this more like dramatic turn. So of course they get the new Yellow, and as I mentioned, her shtick is kind of one note. And then, like right at the end when they all think, oh well, we're all going to try and hit on her, become dating with her, she walks in the room. It's like, oh hey guys, I'm pregnant and I'm gonna go get married. I quit. And they're all
oh no, fucking blue balls.
So when it's like, okay, well now we're getting another Yellow. I wonder who it's going to be. Like, oh, I hope it's just as cute a girl. And then walks the original Yellow. He's like, hey guys, I'm back. And like, oh no.
And everyone's just like, oh.
Which is funny because one, here it is expecting, we're expecting this cute girl. Oh no, it's just our old fat friend who's back. And two, that's something that actually fucking happened in Sentai. That literally happened in Go Ranger, where they replaced the Yellow Ranger. And then they replaced the replacement with the original guy. That's literally what happened. No, yeah, that's like I said. The show is very much we watched a couple of episodes of some old Sentai shows, and we're gonna copy those tropes. But it does it well. It does it really well. It's not like the generic jokes of, oh, haha, we poked fun at the single trope. And so there's some genuine, like, not expected references like that, where they make fun of the joke where, oh, Yellow quit, and then they replaced, got replaced, and then the replacement left, and now they're replacing him with the original guy.
Which is just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's, again, this goes on for the entire show, where it's these tiny little things, like one episode will be, oh my god, how do we fucking use Twitter? Because Green is a fucking dumbass who just drank and got angry.
There's an entire episode where they're trying to figure out how fucking Twitter works. Because they got Green drunk by accident, and he started trying to fucking kill a man. Like you do. And Blue, because he's a dipshit, posted it on Twitter, which I must note is a real Twitter account. I only know about Blue and the Commanders, but last I checked, every single Twitter account that they showed in the show is a real Twitter account with real tweets. Of course, they're all long dead and abandoned, but all of the tweets that they show in the show are real tweets. So, the episode is that, like I said, Green got drunk, tried to kill a man, like you do. Blue tweets about it, and so it's them trying to astroturf, oh, we're trying to cover it up on Twitter here. So we've got the Commander in Yellow trying to figure out how Twitter works, a Red too, Red making a very obvious sock puppet account, Yellow spending 10 hours trying to make a fucking password. the commander trying to spend 10 hours making a password, and then there's a bit where he can't say Twitter right.
Saying Switter.
It's Switter. So
the whole thing is just an entire episode of, wow, these guys are fucking idiots.
These guys are idiots and also old. And their Twitter accounts end up being somewhat relevant as the series goes on. We keep going back to them talking about Twitter. Like, there's an episode where I don't exactly remember what happens, but I think one of the Treasure 5 guys offhandedly mentioned something, and the commander goes on Twitter to like talk about it, to like help them out. And AJ,
that was a gem.
AJ, that was in the last episode. There was a couple other times where the commander is on Twitter trying to help them out. And AJ, you walked away or you muted as I said this, so I'm going to say this again. All of the Twitter accounts that they showed in the show are real.
I heard that. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to bring that up again just in case you didn't hear me. I'm not going to repeat myself any further then. So it's a fun, nice little bit of a defictionalization there where, the heroes are real and they're actually making tweets, and it's fun. It's a nice little gimmick. They don't really advertise it other than, here's them looking at their phones and you see their handle and that's about it. But so Twitter ends up being plot relevant more often.
Which is kind of weird. Because they bring this up, but they don't do anything with it afterwards. Of Green finding out that Pink has a second job. And they make it seem like it was going to be relevant at the end, but they don't do anything with that. They just drop that.
Yeah, there's like the whole plot line of like, Pink is like a chain smoker who heavily drinks and might be doing something illicit on the side for money. But they don't really they kind of forget about it. They don't really focus on it, and it kind of gets abandoned. And even in season 2, they never bring it up at all.
See, it's weird because maybe that was just a thing of this might be a little bit too serious to bring up.
I think either that or they're like, this isn't funny, nobody really cares, let's abandon that, or they kind of noticed how popular certain other plot lines like the bits about the villains not having money ended up being more popular, so they decided to go with that.
Which is... So let's talk about that. Because the villains are weirdly the heart of the show, especially the Commander and Key. We're going to call him Key because that's what they call them in the show.
Yeah.
But Commander and Key, which is weird because...
Them not having money is brought up in the very first episode as a throwaway joke. As part of the obligatory... Why do the villains only ever attack this one specific city? Why don't they just try to attack elsewhere where we can't get to? And of course, it's funny enough when you bring that up. And then we cut to the villains who are they look I forget who, but I think Yellow or Pink is why don't they try to attack Brazil or something? And Pink's oh yeah, I'd love to go to Brazil, And then Commander and Key, they look at each other it's a good idea. They pull out their phones and plane tickets are that much? Oh no, fuck that.
It's 500,000 yen for a one-way trip.
Yeah. So it's kind of a throwaway joke about haha, the villains don't want to afford anything. And then it ends up being plot relevant because as the show goes on, you hear Treasure 5 talking about the villains are sending out less henchmen now and they're not using monsters as much and the monsters aren't growing big anymore. I guess they're running out of cash, and it's a genuinely emotional plot line where and
it's actually true. They don't have money.
Yeah, we're going broke. We can't keep doing this. He's the commander gets a bunch of jobs and he's it's all cover to chase them and case the joints and so we can rob them, and of course Key falls hook, line, and sinker for it every single time. And
and he was actually doing it because they need the money.
Which again, it really comes out as a legitimately heartwarming and actually kind of heartbreaking, because here's the commander, who again he's a bad guy, quote unquote, but he's not really a villain. He just kind of wants to keep this going, and you have a feeling he doesn't even want to do this because he's mean. it's like these people are depending on me now. Like I like along the way, like he stopped being a bad guy, and he's like, no, the people who are like working for me depend on me, and I don't want to make them lose their jobs and shit like that, like Key and stuff. Which is why he like to just go off to his mom's tofu shop, and I'm just like, yeah, I could. That's actually like really fucking heartwarming to me, honestly.
And that's the thing is that like it's something where you could have made it an easy like joke of, haha, the villains don't have money, so they need to work real jobs to afford their evil villain plans. But no, they treat it pretty much entirely seriously, to the point where Blue accidentally finds out that they are working at the restaurant, like actually working there because they can't afford to be villains, and he keeps it a secret, and he becomes this like weird like secret supporter of them to the point where like whenever they're like talking about the villains, Blue will just chime in something about how awesome the villains are. Or, like, he'll help them out.
Yeah, they're pretty cool guys.
Yeah, it's like, you shouldn't underestimate them. Or, like, there's a point where, like, the commander fell asleep during a battle, and he, like, carries him off so he can go sleep. And he's like, I must have been, brainwashed. He must have been pretending to be asleep, and I let him escape. That's it. Yeah.
And again, it comes down to them, like, there's this moment where Key and the commander are talking about like the future, like what's gonna happen now, where's it going, what's gonna happen to the evil organization, and it comes to like Key, and see, usually this thing would just be played for laughs. Like Key would be like, no, make me a monster, I'm loyal enough, but like no, here it's just like the commander's like, no, you have to be really sure you want this, because if not, you're gonna fuck yourself up for no reason, and they take it seriously to the point where there's a point in the show where Key gets, I guess, injured because the villain explains as the outside of your body is invincible, but the inside of your body is that of a 2-year-old, so you got to be careful what you eat. So
yeah, they kind of skimped on the inside parts, so he's kind of super weak on the inside, and Treasure 5 accidentally kills him at the bar. Makes the villain even more depressed.
He to the point where he visits him in the hospital every day, and he even takes Key's place in the tofu shop. When I'm like, just what the fuck?
It's like, it's weird because you would expect it to be like, haha, it's a joke because they're the villains, but they're pathetic and they can't afford it. No, the show treats it entirely seriously, and it's a genuinely dramatic and heartwarming moment.
It does. It is. It's like, oh, dude,
I don't want to say gut wrenching, but it's like, it honestly makes you feel bad for the quote unquote villains of the show, where sure, they're trying to take over the world, but like AJ was saying, the commander isn't really evil. He's just like, it just seems like he's doing it because, well, all these other guys believe in me, and they believe in my cause that I might have once believed in, so I'm just gonna keep it going. Like, I mean, even in the last fucking episode, he even, like, straight up says, like, I'm not a bad guy anymore. I've somehow become a good person. And that's what I'm talking about. Where, like, there's these jokes of, like, where he's helping the heroes out because, it's... this is not where we're going to defeat them. We're like, we can't let them be humiliated by anybody else's but our hands. And he's actually genuinely trying to help them because he's just a good person, and he feels bad that he's a good person now. And it's in any other
weird.
show, this would have been like a joke, but it's taken entirely seriously, and it's
and I think the show, it was very, very smart to do that, because like you said, anybody else writing the show would not have done that. Anybody else who was given this material would have just made this a joke, but no, they're just like, this is life. This is like what would happen if a villain actually ran out of money.
Yeah, and it honestly, it elevates the show above whatever it could have been. It really makes the show stand out. Is the fact that they take it seriously, and yet it's still funny, of course, but they don't turn it into a joke. They try to take it serious.
Yeah, it almost
really
becomes like an actual.
Different.
it almost becomes like an actual J drama in that sense, where it's like,
Almost.
yeah, like how in some J dramas they're mostly serious, but they have a lot of jokes. It's mostly jokes, but it has a lot of serious moments as well. I mean, shit. There's an entire point where they're like, this is during the last few episodes where the team is going to get disbanded, like they're going to get dissolved, basically only up to 3 people, and they're just like, well, I can leave, and no, you leave, like they're getting into an argument until finally they stop being shitty people and just start saying, well, you know what, maybe I'll leave myself, I'll do it myself, and I'll leave. To the point, and it gets really, really heart-wrenching because it's like, these guys don't want to. Like, as much as they complain about it, as much as they hate certain stupid shit that happens to them in the fights and all this, they can't see themselves doing anything else.
And that's another way where, like, you would expect this to be the obvious joke, but they take it entirely seriously, where, oh, well, the villains are, they're not existing, basically. They don't have money, so they can't afford to fight, so the heroes basically just exist because they're heroes, and it's, well, this shit costs money, we're not spending it on anything if these guys aren't doing anything, so the heroes end up having to deal with getting downsized, and they're not able to use their stuff, and eventually it's like, oh, we're just gonna get disbanded entirely, and it's treated seriously, it's taken entirely seriously, and it's different, I think, is the best way to put it. It's different, and it's not what you would expect out of any other kind of show that was parodying this genre, where all of the stuff you'd feel like it would be treated as a joke, but here it's taken entirely seriously, and it manages to make the show that much better.
And you have this feeling of, and it's a weird feeling that I can't exactly put to words. Hold on, excuse me. Of you're taking these silly ass characters and adding a serious tone to it, but you're not really taking it as a joke to the point, and they do it so convincingly, where even to these characters, because again, these characters, they're not given actual names, they're never outside of their costumes. The Rangers themselves, they're never outside of their costumes. They're always wearing that weird frilly bullshit. They're these silly.
Outside of the opening credits, they're always in their costumes, so it's like
so
we mentioned,
you have
these guys they're walking stereotype, basically, but they still manage to give them genuine human I don't know, unless to say pathos is the right word, but emotions, and you make them take them seriously, and that's
what I'm saying. Like, you have these silly ass characters that you feel for. You feel for them because it's like, you don't want to see these guys lose their jobs. Yeah, they can be dicks, but I don't want to see them lose their jobs. Yeah, the villain might be a little weird, but he's doing his best. He's working 6 jobs himself, and he's helping out Key, and I don't know what to feel. It's so conflicting. It takes you on a roller coaster.
It really does, and it's so much more different than. I mean, it's so much more different than even Akibaranger, because Akibaranger barely took itself seriously at all, even when it was starting to be serious near the end with all the really heavy meta shit, where it's, oh, well, our show is basically getting retooled and we're getting canceled, like we talked about. And I think I even brought the show's style up when we were talking about that, where because obviously the show is not made by Toei or anybody else, there's leeway done with the jokes, where the jokes are definitely still more they dig more at the genre than Akibaranger did, where there's definitely more, not necessarily negative, but they take more heavy pot shots at the genre, and
because this isn't their bread and butter.
No, and even then, you would expect it to be just kind of a basic parody, but they take itself seriously, and they treat it with enough respect, and they take these different turns with how the show is going to be, and it ends up being a better product overall than what you would expect from a basic parody of X superhero genre.
And you know what? I think, and this is what I said earlier, I think to its credit, that's why I like the fact that it had such a shitty budget. Because you see these crappy suits, you see the crappy intro, you see the no budget, the only 3 sets, you see all of that, and all you think is, it's gonna be the generic jokes. Oh, ha ha, everything explodes, ha ha. And it's like, and that's why I think later episodes, like 7, like 9 through 10, like 9 to 12, I'm sorry, hit you even harder, because it's like, since it's such a down-paced, I guess you would say the best word would be intimate show, because it's just them. You get more attached to them, and because of that, when they do get into serious moments, you're like, yeah, I guess they are just people at the end of the day. It's weird. It's really weird that the way that the production itself plays into the show and how serious you can take it. Yeah, exactly. If anything, if it was filmed a different way, you could even say this might have been like a mockumentary. If it was filmed differently, you could have made this into a mockumentary.
Honestly, yeah, probably.
I think that's it's a film style. Like, a lot of soap operas are filmed in a different way as well. Makes it look a little more realistic as opposed to a movie or a TV show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had filmed this a little bit differently, you could very much have just played it off as a mockumentary. It's gonna sound weird, but this feels like it could have been Sentai Spinal Tap.
Honestly, yeah, it would probably work as that kind of style to it.
Yeah, because it's got this very cynical yet somewhat uplifting tone to the whole thing, where it's just like, I'm rooting for these guys. You know, they're not the greatest people, but hey, you know, they're doing their fucking best. I like these guys. And again, that's you know, in service to the really funny jokes, the real fun character moments that we have. The actors do an amazing job with what they're given. You know, Drake, fucking, even Useless. Yes, I will even admit Useless does a fucking fantastic job with his role.
That's the thing, is that I've always said is that Ryota is a great actor. It's just he was given such a shitty role in Decade that it's honestly like killed his career in perception. And I don't necessarily want to say career, because obviously he's not an American actor. A lot of his stuff doesn't really make it stateside, so I don't exactly know how successful or not he is, but it's definitely killed his kind of perception, and he gets shit on a lot. He's a good actor. It's just he was given such shit initially that it kind of gives people a bad taste in their mouth when they see him.
Yeah, which kind of sucks, because I hate to say it, but watching this and watching him do such a good job made me think, and this is completely off topic in a sense, I'm like, God, I feel so bad for Ghost Actor. Because he's going pretty much to the same thing himself. Because I'm like, oh, I feel bad for that motherfucker. I'm pretty sure he's great. I'm pretty sure he's a nice enough guy, but fuck!
Honestly, that really happens to any actor, really, is, you know, they can be a good actor, but you have one role that everybody hates, and, you know, your career is dead, and that's really just how it works.
Which is why I'm glad they gave him the opportunity that they did with this show, because again, he goes above and beyond with this role, and god damn it, he gives that motherfucker socks. And it's weird, because especially at the ending, and I think we can talk about the ending now, where everything's about to go to shit. You know, the team is not even going to be down to 3 people. It's going to be fully dissolved. There's no more villains. There's no more money. Nobody can do anything. Which, by the way, this is the only time you get to see 2 more sets. Like, all this stuff is just going to the shitter. And they're just like, well, fuck. And then they start realizing, shit, we basically ruined the commander's life. No wonder he wants to fucking kill us. Which they then do one of the only real heroic things in the entire show, and give up their gems, which you see on their fucking suits. You think it's just a shitty prop. No, they bring up that these things are apparently worth 5 million yen a piece. So they decide to just give him the fucking gems.
The most heroic thing they do in the show is funding the evil villain's evil organization, which even the commander points out, like, you guys are the heroes, you should not be helping me, this is fucked up, what are you guys doing? And of course they put masks over their helmets and like, we're not Treasure 5, what are you talking about? No, it's fine.
Nah.
It'll help, but obviously he knows and they know, and there's this nice little nod where the commander is still working part-time jobs, and Red's kind of like, I heard this rumor about this guy who's a part of an evil organization who's working a bunch of jobs because he's trying to get something back from a pawn shop he sold to them, and he's kind of like, thank you for your help, okay, I'll pay you back for this someday, and he just kind of walks out. It's a cute little moment where, like, sure, the status quo is upheld, but even then, it's done with such genuine emotion, and it's such a nice, like, feel-good moment. It's a great way to close out the show. Is sure, the status quo is being upheld, but it's done in such a way that
you don't care.
It makes you feel good. Yeah, you don't. It's not even like a bad thing that it's done. It feels good.
If anything, you're glad. Like, oh, thank fucking Christ, these guys aren't going to lose their job. They're actually going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. It's a happy ending for a show that honestly could have very easily had a very bad ending. Like a very sad ending. And I was like, oh my god. Yeah, like, right?
Yeah,
like,
they could have just been
you
like,
think
haha,
that.
we all lost our jobs, that's it, and just have it abrupt and end, and that's the ending. No, they, like I said, the fact that it takes itself seriously at the end is honestly the best part of the show, ironically, for a comedy parody of a fucking superhero show.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, like, it's to the point where, as Jay said, and as I said, you're happy the status quo is upheld. You're happy that nobody's losing their job. You're happy that these guys are okay. They're okay in the end. And it's great. It feels good. It's a feel-good moment for a show that, again, as I said, easily could have just been shit-canned and just been like, fuck you. I loved it. How funny. And again, it's overall, I think this show truly is worth anybody's fucking time, because like it was great. I fucking loved it.
Oh, absolutely. I adored the hell out of the show when I had first watched it. I think, I don't remember if I watched it as it was airing. I know I watched the second season as it was airing. I think I watched this, like, I shotgunned this as the second season was about to start, because I had already heard things about it, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch that. And when I found out about season 2, I shot through it real quick, and it's great. It's a really fun show, and obviously, a lot of the jokes will probably go over your head if you're not, really into Sentai or anything. Hell, most of the jokes will go over your head if you've never heard of Sentai, but, if you're watching this fucking podcast, you probably know what, at the very least,
yeah,
with some of those jokes, so I would hope so at the very least. But yeah, it's a really great parody because it, honestly, look, I'm not going to repeat myself again. I've already said enough about how much I like this show.
I mean, again, we're going to say it multiple other times. This show is just great. It is just a great show. You know what? I'm gonna put it to you guys, and I'll answer it myself, because people are gonna ask and people are gonna wonder. And I know they're very different shows, but Akibaranger or Kanpai, which one? They're
honestly
almost the exact same length.
It depends, because they're two really different shows, despite the fact that they are ostensibly from the base level the same. They are both Sentai parodies. Where Akibaranger is more, this is made by fans of the genre for fans, and here we are, we're poking fun of it, but we're doing it in a self-aware way, but we're still very much an entry to the genre. Whereas here, it's more for, people who watched the show when they were younger, or people who kind of know what it is, but it's not necessarily made for hardcore fans, but it makes fun more of the genre, but it's still a solid comedy, and it's still a solid show, both dramatically and comedically. So, as for which one I would prefer, it's hard to say. It's definitely hard to say. I like this one a little bit more, but Akibaranger is definitely a better technically made show. I can't really compare the two. I'd say
Okay, I got you.
in terms of solid jokes, I'd say I'd like the show a little bit more.
All right, what about you? Van? Van?
I'm kind of on the same boat.
Okay.
But pretty much it's their humor style. Like I could show somebody who's familiar with Power Rangers, Akiba Rangers, and they could probably get a lot of the jokes and humor. While watching this is more of a more Sentai-esque. I'm trying to think. Like I personally like After 5 better than Akiba Rangers as a personal show, but Akiba does have a lot of memorable moments.
I got you.
So again, it's more of a mood type of thing. Like, what am I kind of in the mood for? Like,
no, I got you.
100%
on that one. Yeah.
And
especially.
Sorry, keep going.
I was just gonna say, especially with like Akiba Rangers, there are just like random episodes that you'll just remember like off the top of your head, like the Powerful Rangers episode, or just random episodes that are kind of one-note episodes that are so kind of those things.
And I guess that's a good way to put it, is that with After 5, you remember more specific like story segments or specific jokes, not like episodes as a whole. Whereas Akiba Ranger, there are entire episodes that you remember more because of more things happen in them. But not Akiba Ranger, After 5 is the jokes hit a little bit harder, so you remember the specific jokes a bit more than the whole episode.
I think I'm gonna be the odd one out here. I think 100% Senshi over Akiba Ranger any day. Like, I think for me, it's very much within its perfections lies perfection, because everything from how small of a budget it had, just how basically it's like if a college student made a so small and intimate, but at the same time hidden behind that shitty production, shitty everything, pretty much shitty like production wise, hidden behind that mask is honestly one of the most hard-hitting shows from a comedy that I've seen in a while. I loved Akiba Rangers meta. I loved it. It was funny. And goddamn it, it got you thinking hard. It got you thinking with that meta shit. It got you thinking really, really hard.
Did.
But with this one, because those types of jokes, you're not going to see Kanpai Red pull in the fucking giveaway scrolling happen. But just the emotion and the heart that a lot of these jokes had behind them, that you feel like it was written by a guy who did grow up with the original Showa Sentai shows and thought to himself, I would love to make something like this. This sounds like a lot of fun. And he worked with what he was given, and it paid off amazingly well because of this. I don't know who it is because I couldn't find anything on him. I don't remember who it is.
Absolutely no goddamn clue who wrote this at all. I found the website, and it has some listings of some crew, but I forgot to translate it, so I don't remember exactly who wrote this show.
Does
Yeah,
this
but
even have a real Wikipedia page? Because
no, it doesn't.
Not in English
because
that I could find. It might have a Japanese one, but it's you'll have to dig for
because
that.
I was looking up, like I wanted to look up like some of the cast lists. As soon as I jumped into this, I wanted to look up kind of a cast list, just kind of look at some of the cast actors and stuff. Like, what have they done before? Like, I recognize a few people, but I didn't. I wanted to look more in depth, and
Yeah.
I think the Ranger Wiki,
But-
no, Tokusatsu Wiki, in which is pretty shit, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I was saying, like within all those little imperfections, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I think I really like this one a lot more than I did Akibaranger, and that's not even to, and that's to this show's credit, because Akiba fucking amazing. I love Akibaranger, and I don't think anybody can deny that show's awesome.
Oh no, not at all.
So
No.
so the fact that I like this show that much more, personally, I think that's the highest level of praise I can give it, because this show was fantastic. Like, yeah, you know what? You can say that it had some slow moments. I understand, and I understand too. Like, I didn't even part the Yellow Ranger little mini arc that they had, the replacement. Kind of hit or miss, but overall, I think it was just way better. I think it was just way better in the sense of its writing. Now, that's not to say anything about, Riku Sanjo. I mean, I don't want that guy to come at my fucking house.
You mean,
but
I don't want him to come into my house either, but he didn't write Akibaranger, but I get what you meant.
I think he's outside my house right now.
Oh god,
shit,
fuck. He's the most dangerous. You can't stop him, alright? Just lock your fucking door and hide.
Just hope to God he doesn't remember your scent.
He's just a soldier, alright? He's the most dangerous writer. Just hide. You'll never win.
But like I said, like it's a whole thing of the mixture of all that shit. Ooh, something that would usually kill any other show, maybe ace in my opinion. But that's just me. I love this fucking show.
No, I would definitely say you're not you're not different. I can't fucking remember the word. All right, I've been drinking. So I would not say you're the odd one out of the bunch. That's the fucking phrase I was looking for. No, I definitely do like the show more than Akibaranger. It's just they're two entirely different shows, so for me it was harder to kind of say one is better than the other. You kind of really
I get you.
You kind of really explained it the best way possible. Everything you just kind of said really summarized a lot of the same opinions I had, and pretty much, yeah, that kind of summarizes how I felt about it too. I guess and Van kind of brought this up too, and it's I'm gonna summarize kind of what he said, is that the best way to put it is that Akibaranger is a show kind of made if you're a fan of Sentai and you like Sentai, whereas this is just kind of a comedy you could watch. You don't really need to know about you don't really need to know anything about the genre. You don't need to really know about the tropes. Like, if you've ever watched fucking anything that has any kind of superheroes, or if you've ever watched any fucking Saturday morning cartoon in your entire life ever, you'll get most of the jokes in this show. You don't need to be a fan of the genre to get into this. It's that kind of parody where it's simple enough where you can get into it and not have to be a fan to get the jokes, but at the same time, it stands on its own, both as a parody of the genre, being a fan, and just a comedy on its own. And I think that's really what makes it different from Akibaranger, where this is just a comedy that happens to make fun of this genre, whereas Akibaranger is a specific parody of this specific genre, and it's, if you're not a fan of it already, you're not gonna fucking like it or really get any of the jokes.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was gonna say, like, even if you're not a fan of superheroes, this is just fun. Like, you can have you probably will be able to have a laugh at this because again, as Jay said, if you even have a cursory knowledge of superheroes or Saturday morning cartoons that have superheroes in it, this is gonna make you crack up because you'll recognize at least one of these tropes.
If you fucking watched an episode of G.I. Joe in your life, you'll get basically half the jokes in this show.
Yeah. But I think that's pretty much everything we can say about this show, because this show, look guys, the best thing I can say about a show is when I can just say, don't even listen to us. Just go watch it. Just go watch it yourself, and you're gonna see exactly why this show is so fantastic.
It's honestly the only other thing I can say about the show is, much like Akibaranger, it's kind of disappointing how it's just kind of dropped off the map. Because like I'd mentioned, it got a second season. It came out the following year. And the second season it's a little bit different. It's still a lot of the same kind of humor. It definitely does start leaning more on the specific kind of Sentai or Tokusatsu kind of tropes and parodies more for its jokes and its plots. But it's still kind of overall the same show where it starts off, haha, it's a comedy, it's a joke, but then it starts taking itself more seriously near the end. But it's not in the delay where it's like, it just basically recycles the entire fucking season over again.
Yeah.
But much like Akibaranger, after its second season, it's basically been forgotten about. And the thing is that they were going to make more. After season 2 ended, they had done a Kickstarter. They said, if we make X amount of money, we're going to do a third season, and then we're going to do a movie. And
oh my god, the movie, yes.
They passed that goal, and 4 years have passed, and absolutely nothing has happened since.
Unless it's taken just that long.
There has been absolutely no news, no updates at all, no indication that it's even still being worked on. I don't fucking know. Nobody has said anything about this in any way that I can find. Obviously, because it's not English, it's hard to find information about, because this show is not particularly as big as, even as big as Akibaranger, so it's not as well documented.
Well, just do what the Commander did and make a thread on 2chan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I fucking might as well. But it's kind of weird because the show was really riding high and it was really popular. Season 1 did well, and Season 2 did even better, and here comes this Kickstarter, and I don't remember exactly how much it made, but I know it passed its goal, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this, or we'll get back to you guys soon, and that was 2015, and now it's almost 2020, and there's been fuck all.
They're waiting,
since.
Jay. They're waiting.
Look, maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll get something this year. Maybe,
no, Jay,
I
just
don't know.
watch. We're gonna be the assholes who puts this out, and then the day afterwards, season 3 and the movie's out. It's gonna come out, guys.
Look, that has happened. Okay, I know that's happened where we've talked about something, and we've alluded to something happening, or we're like, oh, let's do so and so, and then it happens after we're already long past recording, and it's too late to say anything. So I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I'm not holding my hopes out because it's been so long. I don't expect anything to happen anymore. But maybe. I don't know. Yoshihiko took 6 years to get a third season, so who knows?
We'll
maybe soon.
We'll either see the movie and show in the next week after recording this,
or never again.
We're gonna be in our 30s and it still hasn't come out. I don't know.
I'm gonna be fucking 60. Remember that show, Kanpai? I like that show.
Fucking half the cast is gonna be dead, but we're gonna do it the third season. I'm not.
The writer's probably gonna be fucking dead.
We'll get Ghostbusters 3. It'll be Ghostbusters 3. Where they'll make a shitty reboot.
and then immediately afterwards try and make it better, but then it's just worse.
So who knows?
So
maybe something will happen soon. I'm not holding out any hope, obviously, because I've kind of given up at this point. But
let's just tweet the actors, honestly.
Honestly, you know what? I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, maybe I should just go ask Ryota Mirai or fucking anybody else who worked on this show. I was like, hey, did that season 3 ever end up getting fucking made? And obviously he'd ignore me because I'm a gaijin who doesn't speak Japanese. But,
we'll send Chad to do it.
Yeah, Chad. Hey, Chad. Chad, go do that. obviously, here's the part where we patch in Chad responding, telling me no, but obviously it's not going to happen. So,
Sir, Chad saying no, go away.
yeah.
But yeah, overall, this show, fantastic, funny, dramatic, made me cry, boys. It made me cry, and yeah, just go fucking watch it.
Give it a watch. It's good. It's really good. I don't know how much other ways I can summarize it or explain it. It's really good. It does what it set out to do well, and it ends up. I almost said subverting my expectations, but that phrase cannot be used unironically anymore because of Star Wars.
It's subverted my expectations.
It doesn't do what you would expect out of a stock parody, and I think that's really why it's worth watching.
It's different. It's very different. So with that being said, it's not time for the wheel. It's because here's what's going to be happening for the next 2 weeks, big boys and girls. So as you know, we're having our year-end 2019 Toku whatever blah 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 awards. That's still going on. The voting won't stop for that until the 29th because we're more than likely going to try and record that a day or two before New Year's Eve because, you know, so especially because New Year's is on the 1st. So that's pretty cool. Or New Year's is on Wednesday, I should say, which is usually where we upload. So what we're going to do is next week we are going to be releasing the unreleased episode of Thunderbolt, which that's going to be for that. For Christmas, we're going to be doing a mailbag. Now, whether it's just going to be me by myself or Jay with me or everybody with me, it doesn't really matter. Whoever, we'll find something out. It's going to be just a quick-ass mailbag. And then the 31st, or Wednesday, is going to be... We're not going to record it that day, but Wednesday is going to be when we release the episode with the year-end awards. So if you want to get all those year-end awards, get them in now. Get them in quickly. Get them in as many times as you want. Actually, don't do that. But yes, just get them in get in all your votes, and we'll see that then. And then I think for the second week of January, we'll take just a small little break just to let ourselves cool down because, you know, it's been an entire year. And then after that, congratulations, boys and girls. You have just entered into the road to 5 years. Fuck. We started in 2015, Van. Oh my god. This is so weird to say. But yeah, 5 years.
I find it hard to believe. Because I don't even fucking remember when I
God, I've been doing this. You've been here for like 3 already.
I've been here for most of it, which is weird.
You started in Ghost, which was 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Ugh, don't remind me about Ghosts.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago. So yeah, you've been here for 3 years. I've been here for the all full motherfucking 5. So was Phil and Chad, funny enough. So, yeah. So, with that being said, guys, just remember that schedule, and if not, I'm also going to put it on the. I'm also going to make like an update post on Facebook, Podbean, and Discord server. Again, if you want to, you should probably visit that server in case you want like updates. So yeah, just remember this. Just remember this schedule. Next week, this week, Kanpai Senshi, which is the one you're listening to right now. Next week, Thunderbolt. The week after that, the mailbag with whoever gets on, and the week after that is the year-end awards. And after that, 1 week break, and then for the rest of the year, we're back on the saddle, boys. And
yeah,
and that's about it, I think. So yeah. With that being said, guys, thank you again, once again, for listening to today's episode. That's Jay.
Good night and cheers.
That's Van.
What was the name of the spinoff for Cheers again?
That was
a
Frasier.
fucking...
Frasier.
I don't know how you forgot about that, because Frasier is way more popular than Cheers ever was.
Which is weird.
There's no Frasier restaurant, as far as I'm aware. But still, fucking Frasier was way more popular than Cheers. Even I fucking knew that. I've been to the Cheers.
I almost thought I was almost going to say, like, aren't you from the place in Cheers? No, that's Chicago.
I've been to Cheers. It's here in Boston. Last I checked. Is it? There's one. Yes, I've been to it. It's not that great, but obviously this is 30 plus years after the show ended, so it's obviously gone downhill in quality. I've been there. Even I knew Frasier was the more popular one. What the fuck?
Well, boomer sitcoms aside, I'm AJ. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye. Actually, we'll see you guys in the mailbag.
Yes.